Friday, April 1st, 2022, April Fool's Day. There won't be any jokes. I don't like April Fool's jokes. They're usually poor. So anyway, we won't do any. But I would like to give just a little shout out to Anna Navarro today for changing the subject. Although, I understand Sonny's point about why are you a Republican? It doesn't stand for what you believe in anymore. It's not a winning argument. But anyone who's going to defend their allegiance to the Republican Party by saying it's the party of Lincoln, better also be prepared to say that the Second Amendment, that the only arms that the Second Amendment actually gives you the right to bear are muskets. Things have changed since the age of Lincoln. So you have to be able to recognize that. But she did pivot away from a conversation that was going to go nowhere to we should still be talking about Clarence Thomas and his wife and the conflict of interest for him to be on any cases that involve January 6th and or on the court at all. But we should be talking about that. We should be talking more in general about the January 6th Commission and who they're talking to. We should be talking more about the indictments and sentences for the insurrectionist terrorist attackers. Jarod Kushner yesterday spent, I think, 6 hours or more testifying in front of the January 6th committee. I don't know why we don't get to see any of that. I don't really have any outlet that's providing any real kind of, not necessarily a transcript, but even a summary of the kinds of things that he said. Granted, he was in Saudi Arabia at the time. I'm sure all that was on the up and up, and on traveling on his way back during the terrorist attack. So, he doesn't have firsthand account, but apparently he did answer the questions himself. He didn't go through a lawyer. He had counsel present, but actually answered the questions and did a lot of talking. So what did he say? Even if it's not of any note, it would be nice to know what he said. But we didn't get to talk about that. And nobody's talked this week on the #1 daytime program about the fact that Donald Trump's administration was forced to turn over records from January 6th, which they did. And there is a 7.5-hour gap in communications. So the expectation is that he thinks that people are going to believe that for 7.5 hours, while our nation's capital was being attacked, there were no phone calls, no texts, no communication at all. No, of course he knows we don't. He doesn't expect that we will believe that. It's just another delay tactic to try to prevent them from getting information that will obviously show his culpability, and the fact that he was enjoying it. But it's just I don't know what that thought process is. I know it's just to delay. And specifically they want to delay as long as they can to get to the midterms. They don't want any more information than they need to be coming out before the midterms. But Nixon erased 18 minutes of tape, and that didn't work out so well for him. So I don't know how they think 7.5 hours of a blackout, of a communication blackout, that somehow some of that stuff isn't going to come through. Obviously, they've already gotten some from other members of the administration. And, given his penchant for flushing documents down the toilet, I guess he's never heard of a shredder. How can we be sure there ever really is any record to actually be had? He doesn't seem to care too much about record retention. So although he is very concerned about it when it's anybody else's records. So that's disappointing, because we need to keep all of that stuff fresh in mind, that these are, these are people who coordinated an attack on our democracy, and constantly reminding them that he was the leader of that effort. But he is now, you know, he's supporting the most fringe, most MAGA candidates in places where they may not go over well. I guess to get his endorsement, people have to sign a pledge that they will agree that any election that's not in their favor will be described as fraudulent. So that's some truth for you. Oh, and his stupid platform is tanking, which he hasn't hit. He created a social network platform called Truth. That's something like a 94% decrease in signups in its second week, and he hasn't even used it yet. But the hero of the day today, because I'd like to end this on something a little more positive, is Jamie Raskin on the floor of the House. They're debating the legalization of marijuana, and of course, all the Republicans are screaming "gateway drug," harmful for our children. Marijuana is less harmful than alcohol, and don't take away the alcohol. For God's sake, don't take away the alcohol. But so Raskin is making an argument, and he says, this is a quote, "I concede our party is not for the kind of cocaine-fueled orgies that a freshman Republican representative bragged about, but we do understand that their marijuana prohibition laws don't work for our people." That's throwing shade, people.